They thought Earth was weak, insignificant, forgotten. But when the stars turned cold, humanity reminded them who we really are. The human pilot blinked. A galaxy shattered. The bridge of the Javelin was still, the hum of its outdated systems filling the space with a strange sense of nostalgia. Commander Lex Vale stood at the center, the only living reminder of a species that had once stood as both conqueror and victim in the galaxy's turbulent history. His sharp eyes, dark from years of war, scanned the control panels of the old Terran warship. The Javelin, a relic of humanity's lost empire, creaked under its own weight. Beneath his calm, controlled exterior, Lex carried a burden that no other being in the galaxy could truly understand. He was a man out of time, his species eradicated, their existence reduced to legend. A symbol of both awe and fear, Lex was the last sanctioned human pilot in the High Accord military. His humanity was a reminder of the wars, the betrayals, and the horrors that nearly destroyed his kind. His interactions with his alien counterparts were often strained. The alien officers respected his skill but feared his unpredictability. There were whispers in the corridors, rumors of the Terran's past, a past soaked in blood, war, and unimaginable destruction. The weight of his presence hung heavy in the air, a constant reminder of the untamed potential that humans represented. "I'll be in the command center," Lex said flatly, his voice cutting through the silence. The alien officers nodded in unison, but their eyes betrayed the tension that simmered beneath their professional facades. They had long stopped questioning why a human was allowed to operate the Javelin, but deep down, they feared what might happen if humanity decided to rise again. The Javelin floated silently in the void, its battered hull barely holding together. Once a fearsome symbol of human military might, the ship now served as a sanctuary for Lex Vale. The vessel had seen countless battles, many of which had determined the fate of entire worlds. Its weapon systems were old and dysfunctional, its artificial intelligence dormant, but the mere sight of it sent a ripple of fear through the High Accord. Lex stood in the center of the bridge, his hands resting lightly on the controls, his eyes scanning the monitors that flickered with static. Despite its dilapidated condition, the Javelin exuded a power that no one could ignore. The once imposing cannons and missile silos were now just a haunting reminder of humanity's past glory. Yet, in the dark recesses of space, the ship still carried the weight of its destructive potential. Alien officers came and went, casting wary glances at the ship, but none dared to linger for long. Some feared the ship itself. Its very presence spoke of a war that had scarred the galaxy, a war where humanity had almost been wiped out by the very beings they now served. To these aliens, the Javelin was both a relic and a threat, a symbol of what humanity could once do when pushed to the edge. As Lex powered the ship into the disputed zone, he couldn't help but feel the eyes of the galaxy upon him. It wasn't just the High Accord officers who feared him. Every species in this corner of the galaxy knew the tales. The Terrans might be gone, but their legacy lingered like an unshakable shadow. Every step Lex took on the Javelin's bridge felt heavy, each movement a reminder of the weight he carried. His memories were jagged, flashes of war, chaos, and loss. There had been a time when humanity had been the most powerful species in the galaxy, feared and revered for their military prowess. But that was before the war that had nearly annihilated them. Now, Lex was a ghost, a remnant of a species that had once stood tall, but was now buried in the ruins of history. He passed by the aging controls, his mind drifting to the battles he had fought, the comrades he had lost, and the destruction humanity had wrought upon the galaxy. He had fought in the Terran War, and he had fought for survival, but he was no longer fighting for his species. His eyes flickered to the alien officers watching him with a mix of curiosity and distrust. They saw him as a weapon, an unpredictable element. They didn't understand him. They didn't understand humanity.
"You can never forget what we've done," Lex muttered to himself as he looked out into the void. The galaxy had seen his people at their worst, and that was a stain he couldn't wash away. The Javelin, with its haunting legacy, was more than just a ship. It was a living reminder of what humanity could be, a force of nature, untamed and capable of destruction on a scale the galaxy had not yet fully comprehended. Lex stood on the edge of the bridge, his eyes narrowed as he studied the readouts in front of him. The mission was clear enough: peacekeeping in a disputed zone between two alien factions. On the surface, it seemed straightforward, but Lex's instincts, honed through years of warfare, told him that something wasn't right. The higher chord's instructions were vague, the situation too complex, and the mission itself off. He turned to the alien officers who were seated around the command center. They spoke of peace, of negotiations, but Lex had been in too many wars to believe in the lies they told themselves. This was no peacekeeping mission. It was a game, a political maneuver that would see one faction dominate the other. "Something's wrong," Lex said, his voice steady, though doubt lingered in his mind. "You're just paranoid, Commander," said one of the officers, a tall Virex with silver scales. "We're here to maintain peace. You know the Accord's mandate." Lex didn't respond. His gut told him that this wasn't just about peace. There were hidden forces at play, unseen players pulling strings from behind the scenes, and Lex would find them, even if it meant betraying the very peace he had been sent to enforce. The silence of hyperspace was broken only by the hum of the Javelin's failing engines. The crew moved about the ship, unaware of the growing tension that clung to the air. But Lex was not like the others. His senses were honed, his instincts sharpened by years of battle. It started with a twitch, a small, barely noticeable movement of his left eye. It was a physical reaction, something he couldn't control, but it sent a cold shiver down his spine. Lex had learned long ago to trust his body's warnings, and this was a warning. The twitch was subtle, but it spoke volumes. Something was wrong. It wasn't just the ship or the mission. It was the entire situation. Lex couldn't shake the feeling that they were heading straight into danger that no one aboard the Javelin could see. The crew continued their work, oblivious, but Lex knew they were walking straight into the jaws of a trap, and the galaxy would never be the same when they arrived. The Javelin drifted through hyperspace, its engines cutting through the fabric of reality with a quiet hum. Outside, the stars stretched into endless lines, but within the ship, an eerie calm had settled. The alien crew moved like ghosts through the halls, unaware of the dark force closing in on them. Lex's mind raced. He had always trusted his instincts, and they were screaming at him now. The ship felt wrong, the atmosphere too still. Something was watching them, something that didn't belong in the universe. He wasn't sure what it was, but he could feel it, pressing in on them. As the Javelin neared the disputed zone, strange cosmic anomalies began to appear on the sensors, waves of energy that twisted space itself. Lex's eyes flickered to the readout, his heart rate quickening. "We're approaching the anomaly," one of the officers said, a note of concern in his voice. Lex gripped the armrest of his chair, his jaw clenched. This was it. Whatever was waiting in the disputed zone, whatever was about to shatter the galaxy, it was here. The fate of the Javelin and the fate of the galaxy rested on the choices Lex would make next. The mission was supposed to be simple. Commander Lex Vale, the steadfast leader of the Javelin, a warship from an older Earth conflict, had received orders from the High Accord to intervene in the disputed zone of Helix Point, peacekeeping, a routine mission. But as they neared the coordinates, the air on the bridge thickens with an unsettling chill. Lex's gut told him something wasn't right. "Captain," the communications officer Alana stammered, eyes wide on the display. "Sir, there's an anomaly on the edge of the system." Lex's brow furrowed, his pulse quickening. Something was wrong. What kind of anomaly? Before Alana could answer, the stars in front of them seemed to ripple, and suddenly they weren't alone. Warships, massive, obsidian black and radiating malice, appeared out of nowhere, each one far larger and more powerful than any ship Lex had ever seen. It wasn't a skirmish fleet, it was an invasion force. Commander Vale, the voice crackling over the comms was calm, almost mocking. You've walked right into our trap. Welcome to the Ascendancy. Lex's stomach sank. This wasn't just an ambush, it was a declaration of war. The Javelin was outmatched, outgunned, and outclassed. As Lex watched, 3 massive fleets descended from the abyss of space, their warships moving in formation with terrifying precision. Weapon systems hummed to life, the ships bristling with advanced energy cannons and point defense arrays. "Commander, our shields are barely holding," Elena shouted as a distant explosion rocked the ship. Lex gritted his teeth, knowing the Javelin, a relic of an older war, stood no chance against such overwhelming firepower. He quickly assessed their options, but the math was clear. They had none. The enemy fleets moved in perfect sync, positioning themselves around the Javelin like a hungry predator circling its prey. A bright pulse of light slammed into their port side, sending the crew reeling. Lex's mind raced. He needed to act fast. "Prepare to engage evasive maneuvers," he ordered. "We won't survive this if we just sit here." But even as the Javelin twisted and turned, ducking under beams of enemy fire, it was clear the Javelin wasn't enough. Not now. Not without help. On the bridge of the Javelin, chaos reigned. The officers of the High Accord, diplomatic bureaucrats by training, were in full panic mode. They were used to negotiations, peace treaties, and civil discourse, not battle. And the reality of war shattered their delicate illusions of peace. "Commander Vale, we should be retreating," one of the senior officers stammered. "We need to send a distress signal, call for reinforcements." Lex's eyes narrowed as he looked out into the void. The Ascendancy's ships were closing in, their firepower overwhelming. But instead of the swift action Lex expected from the High Accord, there was hesitation. "Move," Lex snapped, grabbing a communications console. "We're under attack, not in a diplomatic conference. You have a fleet out there waiting for a signal, not for us to cower." But his voice fell on deaf ears. The command officers were paralyzed by indecision, and the battle raged on without any strategic coordination from their end. "Get us out of here," another officer muttered. "Get us out," Lex repeated. His voice was calm, but inside fury burned. This is not the time to run. In the heat of the moment, with the crew scrambling to keep the ship intact, Lex realized the only chance they had was to unlock the Javelin's true potential, its old Earth technology dormant for centuries. The ship's core systems, once considered too dangerous, held the key to their survival. "Activate the core," Lex ordered urgently, but his request was met with immediate pushback. "Commander, those systems are... I don't care what they are, we need them now," Lex shot back, his voice firm. But the officers hesitated. Their eyes flickered nervously. Lex knew the fear. The Javelin's old Earth weaponry, though powerful, was seen as a relic. Dangerous, unpredictable. The High Accord feared the consequences of using them. "We cannot risk it," the officer insisted. "We do not know what those systems could do now." "They're the only thing that might save us," Lex said in a low voice, filled with a simmering anger. "Permission denied then. I'll take command." He turned toward the ship's sealed core bay, ignoring the protests of the command officers as his boots echoed on the cold metal floor. As Lex approached the core, a thought echoed in his mind, a mantra he had used in moments of extreme pressure. Don't blink. It was simple, yet powerful. He had to remain calm, stay focused, even as his crew buckled under the weight of the situation. He had to be the rock, the unwavering force amid the storm. The Javelin shook violently again, another salvo of fire slamming into the shields, and yet Lex remained resolute. There was no room for fear, no room for hesitation. "Don't blink," he whispered under his breath. The crew was in disarray, some screaming orders, others in tears, but Lex, he remained calm. The fate of their mission, of humanity itself, rested on his shoulders now, and he would not let it fall. The communication console beeped frantically, drawing Lex's attention. The civilian convoy, humanitarian aid ships under high accord protection, was under attack. Lex's heart sank as he watched helplessly. The Ascendancy's fleet tore through the convoy, ships exploding in a fireball of debris and death. Innocent lives were being lost, slaughtered in the crossfire of a war none of them had asked for. The moment was gut-wrenching, devastating. The weight of it crushed Lex's chest. "Commander, we've lost contact with the convoy," Elena reported, her voice shaking. "They're gone." Lex gritted his teeth, the rage in his eyes burning like a supernova. The Ascendancy had failed the civilians. They had failed humanity. A decision had to be made, and it would be made by him. As the convoy's destruction echoed in his mind, Lex strode toward the command bay, fury in his veins. He could no longer afford to wait. The Ascendancy was paralyzed, unable to act in the face of real war. They were dead weight. "Permission rescinded," Lex said, his voice cold, steely with resolve. He entered the sealed command bay, bypassing the locks that had kept the Javelin's core systems dormant for centuries. The ancient Earth AI, Athena, had been silent for too long. In a single movement, Lex activated the core. The ship's systems hummed to life, slow at first, then faster, pulsing with a raw energy that reverberated through the ship's hull. Athena was alive again, and she was ready. The Javelin roared with newfound strength. Lights flickered to life, shields hummed with energy, and weapon systems flared with terrifying brilliance. Athena's voice, once silenced, now rang out through the ship's comms. "Commander Vale, power levels at full capacity. The Ascendancy will not stand for long." Lex's heart pounded in his chest. They had a fighting chance. The Javelin, humanity's last great weapon, was now in full operation. The Ascendancy's fleets, once towering and invincible, now felt the weight of the Javelin's firepower. The tides of battle were shifting. Lex stood tall, hands steady on the console. He could see the Ascendancy ships falter as Athena's raw power tore through their lines. The Ascendancy would learn what humanity could do when backed into a corner. The battle had only just begun, but for the first time, Lex knew they had a chance to win.
The sterile hum of the ship's command center reverberates in Lex's ears as he stands alone, staring at the glowing holographic display in front of him. Athena, the ancient Earth AI, speaks with a calm that belies the gravity of her words. Use of Protocol 9 will trigger quantum bleed across sectors. The consequences are unknown, Lex. This technology is not just a weapon. It is a force capable of reshaping the very fabric of space. Lex's jaw tightens as he swipes through the display, eyes flicking over the available options. His mind races. Protocol 9, an ancient and forbidden protocol, could mean survival for humanity. Or it could mean the end of everything. The weight of the decision presses against his chest. "I'm aware," he speaks coolly, yet his mind is in turmoil. The tension is suffocating. Sacrifice or domination? One choice could destroy everything he's fought for, and the other could condemn billions of lives to the mercy of a merciless enemy. His fingers hover over the activation button. His heart pounds, but the war is at his doorstep. The enemy is closing in. His people need this victory, no matter the cost. As he locks eyes with the hologram of the Ascendancy fleet, Lex's thoughts flicker to his comrades, to Earth, to his family. Every fiber of his being screams that this decision cannot be made lightly. And yet, it is his alone to make. Ignoring Athena's warning, Lex's fingers move with cold precision. The activation sequence begins. The hum deepens, reverberating through the ship like a living creature. One by one, the weapons of the Javelin, the Singularity lances, fold disruptors, power up with a deafening sound. The sheer intensity of it sends a tremor through the hull,
and Lex knows this is no ordinary weaponry. The alien crew watches in stunned silence, fear etched across their faces. They had heard stories, whispers of Earth's ancient devastating technologies. Now, they are no longer myths. They are alive. The javelin hums with an energy that is almost alive, like an ancient beast awakening from slumber. Let them see what we are capable of. Let them feel the terror of what they have awakened. The javelin's weapons glow brightly, casting eerie shadows across the bridge. Lex doesn't flinch. The silence is almost unbearable, but Lex is resolute. He is no longer just fighting for Earth. He is fighting for humanity's place in the galaxy. The power of Protocol 9 is unleashed. A shimmering light pulses outward. Time seems to stretch. The alien crew, once so sure of their superiority, now cowers in the face of humanity's raw, unchecked power. As the weapons charge, Lex's face hardens, his hand poised above the communication button. A calculated calmness fills his voice as he opens a channel to the Ascendancy fleet. "Leave now. Turn your ships around and we will allow you to survive." His offer hangs in the air, a final, fleeting chance for the Ascendancy to withdraw. It is a testament to humanity's mercy, to the restraint that Lex hopes the galaxy will one day recognize. He hopes for their retreat, but deep down, he knows the answer. Your threat is meaningless. We are the Ascendancy. You are nothing. A cold smile plays at the edges of Lex's lips as he shuts down the communication. Their arrogance will be their undoing, but the tension remains. Will they back down? Or will they push forward, ignorant of the true power at their enemy's disposal?
In the time it takes to blink, Lex's hesitation vanishes. A flash of instinct drives his hand. The ship reacts before his mind can even catch up. Protocol 9 takes over. Its systems so finely tuned they are faster than thought. The Javelin's weapons fire at light speed, a brilliant cascade of destruction. The Ascendancy fleet doesn't stand a chance. In the span of a heartbeat, 2 entire fleets, hundreds of ships, are erased from existence. No warning, no mercy. Only the cold, efficient destruction of humanity's ancient weaponry. It is brutal, precise, and overwhelming. The battlefield is quiet, save for the echo of what has just transpired. Lex's hand remains frozen above the controls, his breath shallow. The realization of what he has just done weighs on him, but there is no time for regret. The enemy is gone. The war, for now, is won. But what have they lost in the process? The shockwave of destruction ripples across the galaxy. In moments, word spreads through the known worlds. Humanity has destroyed an entire fleet, not with slow attrition or drawn-out battles, but in the blink of an eye. The galaxy reacts with a mix of awe, fear, and uncertainty. Galactic leader in a dark council chamber, voice shaking. The humans, they've done it. The old weapon, the myths were true. Across countless star systems, political landscapes shift. Alliances tremble and new ones form, some to stand against humanity, others to seek new partnerships in the wake of this terrifying demonstration of power. The galaxy has been irrevocably changed. And in the heart of it all stands Lex, the man who made the decision. The consequences of his actions are yet to be fully understood, but one thing is certain. Humanity's place in the galaxy is no longer in question. They are not just survivors. They are a force to be reckoned with. The High Accord convenes in emergency session.
their leaders locked in debate. The fate of the galaxy hangs in the balance. High Council leader, gravely, do we stop him, or do we let him finish what we could never accomplish? If we act now, we risk triggering a new war. But if we let him proceed, some argue that Lex's actions must be stopped, that such unchecked power is too dangerous. Others see this as humanity's opportunity to defeat the Ascendancy once and for all, to end a centuries-old conflict. The divide is sharp, the stakes higher than ever. High Council member whispering, he is not just a man anymore. He is a symbol, a weapon the galaxy will fear or follow. The debate rages, but there is no clear answer. Humanity's next move is uncertain, and the galaxy watches, waiting to see if Lex's legacy will be one of peace or destruction.
As the High Accord deliberates, one undeniable truth emerges. Humanity's ingenuity knows no equal. The weapon that Lex unleashed, Protocol 9, is a symbol of that legacy. What was once thought to be a myth, a relic of a bygone era, has proven itself to be humanity's greatest weapon. And now the galaxy knows. Athena's voice rings in Lex's ears, a reminder of the consequences. This is your legacy, Lex. You have unlocked what humanity has been hiding for centuries. The javelin hums again, but now it is more than just a ship. It is humanity's testament, a legacy of power, creativity, and unyielding will. As news of the human victory spreads, the universe watches, divided. Fear ripples through the known galaxies. What will humanity do next? What kind of power have they unleashed? Some see Lex as a hero, the savior of an entire galaxy. Others see him as a ticking time bomb. The balance of power has shifted, but what will this new era look like? Will humanity lead with wisdom? Or will they fall prey to the same corruption they fought against? The galaxy watches, waiting. And in the silence of space, the future is unwritten. The galaxy trembles as 6 Ascendancy fleets tear through space, a massive black sea of ships descending upon the system. Each vessel is a fortress, brimming with soldiers, weapons, and advanced technology. They are the last hope for a reeling empire. They are the storm that will extinguish the threat humanity has become. Lex stands alone aboard the Javelin, his eyes fixed on the sensor readouts, watching the unfolding tide of reinforcements. Fear crackles in the air, a silent whisper that spreads across the galaxy as the fleets converge. Panic spreads like wildfire. Every civilization, from the smallest colony to the largest empire, feels the shockwaves of this new threat. The Ascendancy has gambled everything on these fleets. If they lose here, it is not just a defeat, it is the end of their reign. But Lex is unmoved. His mind is razor sharp, focused. The odds are unimaginable, the pressure insurmountable, but he knows there is no turning back. This is no longer a battle for survival. This is a war for the soul of the galaxy. And in this war, humanity stands at the center. The darkness of space now teems with danger. The fleets loom like an unstoppable force, their weapons locked and loaded. The system is on the brink. Lex knows that the galaxy is about to change forever. The weight of the impending clash settles into his bones, but he does not flinch. His mission is clear. The transmission crackles in his ear, a cold, authoritative voice slicing through the tension. Lex, stand down. This conflict has already cost too much. The High Accord has spoken. Disengage immediately. The words hang in the air, thick with the weight of authority. Lex's hand hovers over the console, fingers trembling ever so slightly, but there is no answer, no immediate response. A second transmission follows, urgent. Lex, this is an order. If you engage, you risk not just your life, but the lives of billions. Stand down. His mind races, the choice is spiraling before him. The High Accord, a coalition of the galaxy's most powerful civilizations, fears what this battle could unleash. They do not want war. They want peace, even if it means submitting to the Ascendancy. But Lex knows better. He has seen what the Ascendancy does when left unchecked, what they are capable of. He is no longer just a soldier. He is the catalyst of change. His silence speaks louder than any command. He will not stand down.
Just as Lex is about to issue the command to engage, Athena, the ancient Earth AI that has been by his side since the beginning, cuts in. Her voice is as calm as ever, but there is something different about it today. Something heavy. Lex, you can win, but the galaxy won't survive it. Her words sink deep into his chest. Athena has been his guide, his conscience in the chaos of war. But today, her voice trembles with an urgency that chills him. The AI has seen the path ahead, and it's not one Lex wants to walk. Lex, victory at any cost, Athena continues, will bring the galaxy to its knees. The system will collapse. The universe will be scarred beyond repair. I've calculated every possible outcome. There is no winning without sacrifice. Without waiting for the High Accord's orders, Lex slams his fist onto the console. The Javelin systems come alive, thrumming with power as the neural link AI amplifies his thoughts, his every movement faster than light itself. The sleek vessel shoots forward, weaving through the oncoming fire of the Ascendancy's fleets. The odds are impossible. 6 fleets against 1 ship. The sheer scale of it is enough to break any man, but not Lex. He is humanity's last hope. With every move, his ship dances through the chaos, its weapons firing with precision that no one, not even the Ascendancy, could anticipate. His mind, synced with the ship's AI, reacts before the enemy can even respond. Each maneuver is a calculated risk, each shot a symphony of destruction. Lex is not just fighting, he is outclassing them. He's humanity giving him the edge that no machine or alien could predict. The Javelin glides through the skies, cutting through the enemy with a mastery born of human ingenuity. The Ascendancy ships are massive, their firepower overwhelming. Yet they fall one by one as Lex pushes the Javelin to its limits, defying every expectation. But even as victory seems within reach, Lex knows it is not enough. The battle rages on, and the enemy is relentless. As Lex pulls the trigger, his thoughts momentarily slip into the past. Memories flood his mind. Humanity's rise and fall, the wars, the fear that humanity had grown too powerful, too dangerous. The old wars, the desperate attempts by other galactic races to suppress them. Fears that humanity's potential could bring about the end of worlds. In these fragmented memories, Lex sees flashes of his ancestors, brilliant, reckless, capable of unimaginable feats. It was this very brilliance that led to their downfall. The galaxy had once feared humanity's power, and so they had sealed it away. Now, as Lex faces the Ascendancy, he realizes that his struggle is not just for this moment. It is for the legacy of all humankind. The galaxy had once feared humanity's potential. Now it will learn that humanity's potential cannot be controlled, only respected.
The core of the Javelin hums, its energy building to a near overwhelming crescendo. Lex knows that this is it, the final option. The Oblivion Protocol, humanity's last resort. A weapon so devastating it could collapse an entire star system in an instant. His hand hovers over the activation button, and for a moment, he hesitates. Victory is within his grasp, but the cost would be unimaginable. Innocent lives, galaxies of life, would be obliterated in the blink of an eye. Lex can feel the weight of this decision crushing him. The promise of victory is within reach, but the cost is greater than any victory should be. Just as he prepares to fire, his gaze falls on a figure amidst the wreckage, a young alien cadet, no older than a child. The alien is alone, staring at him with wide, terrified eyes.
The child is not a soldier, not a warrior, just a scared being caught in a conflict not of their making. In that moment, Lex sees something he never expected: humanity's greatest strength, the ability to choose mercy even when the world demands destruction. For a fleeting instant, Lex's desire to destroy falters. The cadet, trembling and alive, reminds him that war is not just about defeating an enemy, it's about preserving life. His finger hovers over the weapon's trigger, torn between annihilation and compassion. Lex makes a choice, not the choice for victory, but for humanity's future. He sends a transmission to the High Accord, deactivating the Javelin's core, halting the destruction. In that moment, he makes the ultimate sacrifice, his personal victory for the greater good. The galaxy is spared, but the cost is personal. Lex has chosen peace over destruction, and in doing so, he has shifted the course of history. This is not a defeat. It is a victory of humanity's morality over the hunger for power. The universe holds its breath. The immediate crisis has passed, but the shockwaves of Lex's decision reverberate throughout the galaxy. The Accord moves in to take control of the Javelin's core, but the galaxy is forever changed. Humanity, once seen as a threat, has now proven its worth. Lex's choice has opened the door to a new era, one of peace, one where humanity is no longer just a warlike race, but a force of mercy and strength. The galaxy watches as the dawn of a new age begins, one shaped by humanity's courage and resolve. The stars above the war-torn planet glimmered as Lex, bound in glowing restraints, was escorted toward the Accord's flagship. His eyes, though weary, held an unwavering sense of calm. The galaxy had watched him fall from the heights of power into the depths of captivity. Yet there was no fear in his gaze, no hatred or fury. What had once been a symbol of pure destructive power had now become something more: a legend, a story, a figure of reverence.
The ships that surrounded him reflected a quiet respect. The same galaxy that once trembled before his might now stood in silent awe, recognizing the magnitude of his restraint. Lex had not destroyed them. He could have, but he chose otherwise. His actions had shaped the fate of countless civilizations, and now, instead of a fearsome weapon, he was a symbol, a reminder that even the most terrifying force could learn to hold back. As the Accord's ship broke through the atmosphere, the galaxy watched in silence. Lex was no longer just a soldier. He was a living embodiment of humanity's complexity. The once feared conqueror had become a figure of power that even his captors respected. The very thought of a human who could have annihilated them all and yet chose peace sent ripples through the stars. In the grand chambers of the Accord Council, the fate of Lex was being debated fiercely. The room hummed with tension, the air thick with fear and admiration. Representatives from countless species gathered, each speaking their mind with urgency. "The human is a threat," one voice boomed, its speaker a tall alien from their Rothi system. "We cannot allow such a force to remain in the galaxy. He is too powerful, too unpredictable." Another voice, softer yet just as firm, spoke up. "He saved us. He held back when he could have destroyed us. His actions were not only for survival, but for peace. We owe him our lives." "But what if he chooses to act again?" countered a third representative. "What if next time he does not show restraint? Can we risk it?" The debate grew heated. Some argue Lex should be exiled, kept far from any form of influence. They feared the precedent his actions would set. Others, however, argued that humanity had already proven that it could control its power, something the galaxy had not thought possible. The chamber echoed with powerful and passionate speeches, but in the end, the council's decision was clear. They could not ignore Lex's choice. His restraint, not his power, would shape his fate. Behind the walls of the darkened research facility, hidden from the public eye, the Accord's top scientists and engineers worked tirelessly. They were studying the Javelin, Lex's ship,
dissecting its technology with both fascination and fear. Human technology was a mystery, an enigma that the galaxy had underestimated. The Javelin was not merely a vessel, it was a testament to the unimaginable power humanity could wield. Its systems were unlike anything the galaxy had ever encountered, designed with a deadly efficiency. And yet in its design, there was a beauty, an elegance that only hinted at the creator's ability to build wonders. As the alien engineers probed its systems, they discovered new layers of complexity. The ship's core technology had the potential to reshape not only warfare, but civilization itself. A single word could unleash the raw energy of 1,000 suns, and yet humanity had built it, controlled it, and then chose not to use it. It was this paradox of creation and destruction that terrified the Accord. In their hands, humanity's power was both a gift and a curse. The deeper they went, the more they realized that this knowledge, if wielded carelessly, could devastate the galaxy. But if it was harnessed correctly, it could bring about an era of unprecedented peace. The question was, could they trust humanity with this power?
Lex stood before the council once more, his expression calm but resolute. His future hung in the balance. The council had made their decision: exile. "You will never fly again," the lead diplomat, an Andarian, declared. "You will live your life in isolation, far from the galaxy you helped shape. But you will be remembered, not as a conqueror, but as one who could have ended everything and chose not to." The words hung in the air like a heavy weight. Exile. It was a fate worse than death for many, but not for Lex. He had no desire for power, no need for glory. What he wanted was peace, for the galaxy to survive, for the future to be bright, even if he had to step away. He could have rejected the offer, chosen to fight once more, but he had seen enough bloodshed. His true legacy would be one of restraint, not destruction. "I accept," Lex said quietly, his voice carrying a weight of understanding. "But know this, my exile is not a defeat. It is a choice, one made for the survival of the galaxy." Before he left, there was one final moment. Lex sought out a young cadet, the same one who had watched him during the battle. The cadet was now a seasoned warrior, but the memories of the conflict still haunted his eyes. Lex placed a hand on the cadet's shoulder, his voice low but carrying a deep weight of truth. "Don't fear power. Fear the day no one asks if it's right to use it." The cadet looked up, his eyes filled with confusion. "What do you mean, sir?" "The galaxy has seen what humanity can do," Lex continued, his gaze piercing. "We have the power to destroy, but we also have the power to protect. Never forget that responsibility. It is the greatest gift and the heaviest burden." The words echoed in the cadet's mind long after Lex had gone. And so Lex disappeared into the vast expanse of space, a ghost, lost to the stars. He was no longer the man who had once held the power to end worlds. He was now something else, something more, and yet less. Exiled but not forgotten. His story lived on in the whispers of those who had witnessed his choices, and in the hearts of those who would one day face the same moral dilemmas. As Lex drifted through deep space, alone with only the hum of his ship for company, the galaxy moved on. His legacy, his warning, remained. But the cosmos did not stop for one man. Still, Lex's actions had set something in motion, a shift in the galaxy's understanding of humanity. And perhaps, just perhaps, the future would remember the man who had chosen peace in a world built for war. With Lex gone, the galaxy began to change. The fear that once surrounded humanity's power faded, replaced by a newfound respect. No longer were humans seen as reckless conquerors, they were seen as capable of both destruction and mercy. The galaxy had learned that power could be wielded responsibly, and the cost of it was a lesson shared by all. The Accord, once divided over how to handle Lex, now understood the true nature of humanity. They had seen the potential for both great harm and great good in humans,
And while some still feared their power, others now saw them as allies, creators of peace as much as war. The galaxy would never be the same. It had learned from Lex's example. It had seen the consequences of unchecked power and the wisdom in restraint. And though the future was uncertain, one thing was clear: humanity's place in the stars would be forever redefined. Decades have passed since the fateful conflict that reshaped the galaxy. In the cold depths of space, where the weight of history hangs heavy, a once young cadet stands at the helm of a fleet, now an admiral. Her name is Ilara, and the galaxy knows her as a commander of fierce intellect and unwavering resolve. She doesn't wear her past like a badge, but those who look closely can see the subtle traces of the terrified cadet who once witnessed Lex, the man who could have ended it all, fight a war that turned the tides of history. Ilara's rise wasn't swift, nor was it easy. She worked her way up through the ranks, always carrying the weight of Lex's legacy with her, not just as a soldier, but as a person who had seen power in its rawest, most dangerous form. And now she sits in the admiral's chair, steering the course of galactic politics. The scars of the past have shaped her, but they have not broken her. Ilara knows the galaxy has not yet healed, and she too bears the quiet strength of someone who once learned from the past. The hum of the command center is deafening in its silence. Ilara gazes at the star charts, her fingers tracing the outline of a new threat. A hostile force from the outer rim has begun to gather strength, and the tension in the air is palpable. War is no longer a distant fear, it is an imminent reality. But Ilara's hands do not tremble. In her mind, she hears Lex's voice, distant yet present. The lessons learned from his restraint echo through her thoughts. The choice he made not to unleash devastation has become her compass. The weight of leadership presses down on her, each decision like a step on a razor's edge. Her instincts tell her to strike first, but the wisdom she's learned tells her to pause, to think. This war is different. She won't lead with blind rage or reckless abandon. She's learned the cost of that. This time, the strategy will be one of precision, of control, choosing when to fight and when to let peace prevail. At the center of her desk, amidst a sea of papers and digital screens, lies a solitary hollow, a faded, holographic image of Lex. He stands in the cockpit of the Javelin, his gaze unyielding. Yet there is something serene about the way he looks at the camera, a symbol of what was and what could have been. To some, it's just a relic, a memory of an ancient war. To Ilara, it is a constant reminder of the power that lies in restraint. When she feels the pressure mounting, when every decision weighs her down like the gravity of a collapsing star, she glances at the image. His calm face seems to say, "Do not let power consume you." It is a message that carries her through sleepless nights, through endless strategy meetings, and through the quiet moments before each new conflict. His example has shaped her every choice, every action. And in this galaxy still scarred by Lex's war, the Admiral has learned that sometimes the greatest weapon is knowing when not to wield one. Before every battle, Ilara stands before the viewport of her flagship, staring into the void of space. The stars stretch endlessly before her, and in those moments, she whispers a single phrase to herself: "Don't blink." It is a ritual, a mantra that keeps her mind clear, a reminder that the greatest strength does not lie in the firepower of the fleet or the speed of the attack. True power lies in patience, in choosing the right moment to act. Don't blink. The words are simple, but they carry the weight of centuries of human history. The lessons learned from Lex's final decision. When he had the power to obliterate everything, he hesitated. He chose restraint. And Ilara knows now, more than ever, that in the heat of battle, when emotions run high and the stakes seem insurmountable, it is the ability to pause and think that defines a leader. Don't blink. A mantra to remind her to stay focused, to stay human, to stay true to the lesson that the galaxy still needs to learn. In the final moments of the battle, Ilara stands at the helm, watching as the enemy fleet approaches. The ships are massive, dark shadows against the vastness of space. and the tension in the air is thick enough to cut. But as the enemy moves closer, Ilara makes the decision. She orders the fleet to hold position, not a single shot fired. The galaxy has learned many things in the wake of Lex's war. They've learned that humanity, when pushed to the edge, can be a force of unimaginable power. But they've also learned that humanity's true strength lies not in what they can destroy, but in what they choose to protect. The final lesson that Lex left behind was that peace, however fleeting, is worth the sacrifice. As Ilara watches the enemy ships slow, then turn and retreat, she feels it, an overwhelming sense of relief. The war has been averted not by force, but by wisdom, by choosing restraint. The greatest power, Ilara understands, is in knowing when to lay down the weapon.